Welcome back to day 135 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. It's funny because at some point this just became a daily thing, and it's part of my routine by now, which I think is quite fun. Anyways, let's just jump ahead and find our opponent for today. We get Harvey Hui from, is it Vietnam? Yes, it's Vietnam, and we play 1d4 as per usual. Our opponent here is rated 1397 today. We get an Indian game, and we might get some transpositions in some manner. We've seen this a few times as well, which we've deemed an inaccuracy through our analysis. If this is played, then honestly we might as well accept this opening here, as we do like playing with some level of imbalance. Now this is played, and honestly I'm not quite sure what the best move here is. Haven't quite seen this variation. I guess in this case we just ignore, and if our opponent takes, it's probably good for us. So I think we'll probably just develop the knight here. We could come out here as well. If this is played, we might have this or this, and we should be able to come after the pawn with our typical moves like a4 and b3. Well, the knight comes up here. I would like to get this bishop out first of all, before closing it down by playing e3. So let's come here, also pinning this knight, and this is the most likely response, and pinning the queen. This is likely as well, after which would drop back. This kind of combination is quite typical against this bishop to g5 maneuver. But we get this, and apparently it's a Ragozin defense now. Don't quite know the specifics myself, but probably doesn't matter all that much. So what is our move here? This might be a move, after which we would allow this in that case. And this pawn here would be defended by our bishop. We would have doubled pawns temporarily, but we could take here at any time and undouble. I think that's probably a decent plan. And we transpose once again, this time into a modern knight defense, and something, the name is so long you can't even read it all. The bishop takes, we'll have to take in response. We're playing some quick opening moves here, at least quick by some of my standards, because as you guys know by this point I tend to play openings a bit too slowly. At least I've done so previously, but hopefully you guys might agree I might have improved a bit in that regard as of late. This forces this move, and we have one more center pawn than our opponent does. I would like to just push c4 immediately as well. And you might ask, why would I do it? Simply because this pawn here is a backwards pawn, and I think it might easily get targeted. If we get rid of the pawn, I think we should be able to just play on the open files here once we get out, and target the pawns down here without having a weakness like this. That's my reasoning, and because of that I think we'll just come up here. If this is played, of course we just develop our bishop for free and prepare castling. This is played. Still will take, I think. This will be played, and our opponent is left with an isolated pawn because of this pin here. Well, they could not take as well and just develop, after which we would take the pawn and we would be up a full pawn. this move, most likely. Our response is going to be this move, I think. I was considering this, staring down towards the king, but this bishop here opens up quite quickly, and I don't quite love what happens if we get pinned there. Now this is intriguing. I didn't quite see this. Do we have a way of defending this and this? No, we don't. So this, and our opponent here intends to come up here. But honestly, I don't quite think we mind. Because we kind of get our queen up and off the back rank, so we can double our rooks. I was briefly considering this, but after this the bishop would hang, so it's not a good move, I think. So let's come here. This will be taken. Our opponent doesn't want to double pawns. Well, this could be played, in fact. And, well, it would be at the expense of the queen, so maybe not today. Okay, so we have some pressure here, not a whole lot. There is a pretty significant pawn imbalance here. I think we'll just be playing solid moves, come out with the bishop here, and prepare castling. Once we get this, rooks here and here perhaps should net us something. This pawn could be pushed, in which case I think we would have to take. This might be played, and there might be an argument for taking with the king, but it might be a bit too risky, so most likely we would take with the knight and then still castle. This is played, and my blind self did not see the move in advance. So how do we go about dealing with this? Did I play a bit too quickly once again, trying to find the correct balance in regards to speed? Might have done so, but we'll try and find a way out of this mess. Because obviously we don't want to lose our queen. And if we move the queen, this is a double attack against our bishop. So as for our previous move, most likely this might have been a good move instead to dodge the idea, or we might have had to go here to meet this move with takes here. So I guess we might have played the bishop to the incorrect square, but honestly there might still be something here if we look closely. First thing I'm noticing is we don't have a lot of ways to generate threats. I think we have to move the queen here first of all. We can't come here because of this, and if we come here we still lose this bishop. The queen isn't quite overloaded, we can't force it away and take something else that it defends. And this rook here is also defended, so we can't come up here and be annoying. So which options do we have? This pawn is defended as well. This might just be a full-on piece blunder. If this is played, there is this and this. But this, and we just lose like this as well. We might just be down a full piece here. I think we'd have to accept it. The sooner the better, I guess, because otherwise we'll be playing down a piece and down a load of time. So how do we optimize our queen positioning after losing this bishop? First thing I'm noticing is this, followed by this, and we might... Well, we don't actually have a threat because we block our own bishop from coming up. Could we come out here? There might be some ideas down here. And this hits this pawn as well. It might be a good way of teaming up with our rook. this 3-move sequence was unexpected. Well, this didn't have to happen, but played the incorrect response, and so it did. Let's come here. This bishop is lost. Not a whole lot we can do about it. But still, there might be something here if we look closely. Just generating some kind of pressure might be a good idea. I don't think we want to take here, to be honest. Let's let our opponent take, and we probably want to castle first here and just get our moves down. This, our opponent is likely to trade because they would want to simplify being up a piece. I don't think we would have wanted to move the knight back here. It would have been bad for our position in general, and it would have given our opponent a couple more moves in as a head start, I guess. So what we've got right here is a potential attack down here. We don't want to lose this pawn immediately. Our opponent has what's considered a pawn advantage on the queen side, but they might as well be targets if we play this correctly. I'm looking at this, not finding a great response, but at the same time it kind of gets us a bit active. But now in response there would be this move, which is a check, and this, which is quite bad. So we'll not be playing that move, and if we're not playing the move there, maybe we have to move the knight, so this isn't annoying. It kind of locks our bishop down, but first of all, I want to see whether we have a move like this or not. No, it just loses the pawn. Never mind. Never mind. Instead, I guess let's get active with the rooks. Did I miss this? Oh, that's maybe quite bad actually. I don't see a good response to this. Recently I've been seeing a lot of moves our opponent could play in retrospect, which is not the best way of going or doing stuff or playing the game rather. Most likely, or usually, we would like to spot the moves in advance. I guess I might be rushing the game a bit for my own liking in some regard, but I should learn to play quicker, as you guys have mentioned, because a lot of the time I've been playing way too slowly. But our opponent takes here and does not spot this, which might have won material. I definitely don't mind, and I guess we'll come up here. Bully the queen a bit. Where does it go? We might have this maneuver trying to play here on the queen side and kind of leaving this queen's scope, although it might move, which it in fact does. Our opponent's idea here might be this, but it's not a worry for us because the bishop could come back and take if our opponent generates a threat. So then, what do? This doesn't do a whole lot. The knight would still be there. So honestly, let's just force the pawn up. Get rid of the knight, and our pressure should maybe get a bit more tangible. This is a move. Hits the queen. There we could take. I don't necessarily love taking there though. We're still looking down here, but it doesn't do a whole lot unless the king wants to checkmate itself, which most likely our opponent is not intended to play. At some point there might be tactics here, but I don't expect that to be the case anytime soon. Is it genuinely a play now? If we get this, this, and this, honestly, it's probably not all that good because we still sacrifice a piece and the bishop moves, and at the end of the day we lose material in that trade. I would like to come up here, in fact, or as a matter of fact, get the rook active, and now this and this move is not as strong. This bullies the queen, prepares this in some sense because this is weakened. Or the idea, at least, of the move is not as strong. And luckily our opponent does not have a light squared or dark squared bishop, rather, because otherwise we could have gotten skewered down here, but in this game that's not going to happen. However, there might be moves like this, which, at least at first glance, seem to be quite annoying. Pinning our rook down here. If this is played, what do we want to do? The move I'm immediately looking at is this, but the queen comes back here, which it's a bit more passive, but it's probably still decent. Can we still come up here? Our opponent went to this square, maybe to allow or to meet this with this now, as the queen covers the d5 square. And this is still covered, but our pressure here might just be forcing our opponent to stay on the back rank and not move the bishop, at least for the time being. We can't do a whole lot more about this square. We could drop back here one square and that might be okay, but a5 seems to be annoying. Maybe it's not. Coming back here, it kind of controls d5 for us and also dodges this move, which might come with tempo in some positions. So as a matter of fact here, I think we'll go for this move. Don't know if it's the best move, but it's definitely a move that, as far as I can see at least, should improve our position. We're staring down at this pawn. One more piece there, and we might have something. Our opponent has to come up with a move, and at this point I think we're making our opponent's life a bit difficult, as their pieces are kind of tied down and we have pretty decent activity against their position. I think it's a helicopter outside, in fact, here, and it's quite loud. Hopefully it's not as loud for you. The bishop now develops at long last, and now, as the bishop does not defend this pawn, I think we might actually come back up. No, we don't want to do so because of this coming with tempo. But honestly, it still works. This, and this, and we get the pawn and we get pressure here, and there is definitely a lot for us to get from that position. So that's coming up here, in fact. And a5 is definitely on the agenda. Our opponent could play a5, and if they do, our best move might be, in fact, be taking. This is played. Our opponent defends the pawn and simultaneously pins our piece down here as well. a good move for sure. Now what I'm currently looking at is still this kind of an idea, but I don't see it working out tactically just yet. So if it doesn't work out, how do we go about doing this? If this is played, our opponent is in fact, no, they don't have to go there, they could jump back as well and hit the rook, and we would be pinned like this. And this actually is something I now identify as an immediate threat, or so I'd like to say, but we might have this, and if this is played, there is this, but there might be an in-between move. Let's say we go here, this is played, we take... Can we get first out of the back rank? No, the queen is defended by the rook. That might be an issue in some positions, so we would have to leave this diagonal. Okay, I guess we're going back to b2. Our opponent is slowly pushing us back, but we might still have something here at some point. a5, still, I think, our only move. We don't have a lot of mobility with our pieces. Our opponent is playing well defensively. This is a good move, getting the rook active. And there might be ideas down here as well, although not quite yet. Okay, so this pawn here, it doesn't quite hang yet, but we'd still like to push it. So maybe we might have the idea here of getting our rook here, so it's not tied down to the defense of this pawn. This is an intriguing move. You could consider this a fork, but at the same time not. If we hit the knight here, I guess maybe it comes back around this way. Could we come here? This might be a move. If this is played, is this playable? I think I'd like to stay on the b file, defend our pawn while it's defended by the rook as well, but I think there might definitely be some ideas by coming up here and first of all hitting the knight, which applies some pressure, together with our rook here. So obviously this loses material, this does as well. This doesn't work, this is no good either. Our opponent could jump in here and lose like this, so most likely the only move here should be knight back to d6. If knight to d6 is played, there might be an argument for coming up here and closing down this, but this move, our rook would be hit, but we could take here because this pawn is not defended by a piece. This is played. Did I miss a tactic? In fact, I did. This, and there is this, because of this here. Is there an in-between move? Or do we just have to move our bishop? This. We can't generate a threat though, which is the annoying part. But maybe maybe, just maybe, this knight is in fact trapped. No, it's not, because the bishop has to move and we have to give up our control over e4. We can't go here, 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 or here. Well, we could go here, I guess, but it doesn't do a whole lot. So most likely we'll have to come back. This becomes a move, and we get kind of bullied there. Honestly, this loses material. This, and we can't save material down here. But this, and there is this. So either way, it seems we might be losing material, which I'm not a big fan of. So if I look closer, our best move, and maybe our only way of not losing material here, would be to allow this to happen. Which I don't want to allow it, but I don't see an alternative, and if I don't see an alternative, we'll have to play this with 2 minutes left on our clock. The reason I'm playing this is to defend this rook, so the knight now hangs, but most likely our opponent is going to take. But if they take here, this is not going to lose material. There is another fork, and this is... oh, wow. I'm missing those tactics here today, and apparently yesterday as well. Not as tactically sharp for the last couple of days as I would have liked to be. Now, how do we go about doing this? We're going to lose a rook either way, so can we improve our position in the meantime? Maybe we'll come up here and try and create something on the queen side. Not quite sure how we would go about doing it, but there is definitely something that has to be played here. Oh, I guess. Wow. Yeah, I'm missing stuff. I'm definitely missing stuff. This should have been spotted from 100 miles away. I think this might just lose a rook even. Yeah, honestly, I can't explain what's going on from my side. Let's take the pawn, I guess. This. And oh, we have to take because this threatens our queen. Yeah, I'm honestly surprised at this point, but we'll still be trying to play as accurately as possible. And this is played, and oh wow, our opponent correctly identifies. They can take this rook for free because we can't take here now. Fantastic tactical play by our opponent. If we take here, this is a move. But honestly, we can't prevent this from happening, so we're kind of not in a good position here at all. Let's take the rook. This is a move, and this is a move. I think both are probably equally good. Although, or this might actually be a bit better, as it comes with tempo first here, and it doesn't separate the pawns here, as the b pawn is currently a passer. I did think we played quite well up until the point of plundering a piece, though. Our opponent is playing beautiful chess. This, and there is a back rank checkmate. There is a tactic on every single move, and, well, what else is there to say? Our opponent has definitely deserved a win today. Can't take here now either. Honestly, I'll go ahead and resign here, as I don't see a way of coming back, and I won't force our opponent to play out a decisively won game like this. I'll go on ahead and say thanks for the game in the chat to our opponent. They showed some great tactical prowess today. And we made a couple of blunders, but we'll be going through them and hopefully learning from the experience. So today we played with 84.2, which in and of itself isn't all that bad of an accuracy. We got evaluated at 2050. Our opponent played with 93% today though, which is fantastic. Another great opponent. Yesterday it was 94 and today it is 93, so we've been facing a couple really strong opponents. A brilliant move, which we'll be having a look at. Definitely fantastic play today, and they didn't have any inaccuracies, but there was a breakdown between best, excellent, and a few good moves as well. We'll be going through the review here and have a quick look. This, and at this point I was expecting some kind of move like this, but we transposed into a Queen's Gambit declined, which at this point honestly I forgot this was even the Queen's Gambit declined until I saw the opening name. And as I realized once again we were still in the opening, I guess I kind of remembered what the ideas were, but at this point I apparently evaluated a bit. I thought this was good, ridding ourselves of what I considered to be a weakness. Apparently not the best idea, should have come up with the bishop first. I thought if we're going to play this either way, we might as well do it without having to risk moving our bishop twice. It lost 0.5 evaluation, but maybe, and yeah, it might just be because of this move, in fact. Which once we see the move being played, makes a lot of sense, because if our pawn was back here, let's say we went here and this was played, if it takes, now we take with the c-pawn, which we can't do once the pawn is pushed. This is only really an inaccuracy. It appears as long as this is played. In response, it's not played, and we go back to 0.5 in our advantage, and our opponent found a good move coming out here. This was a blunder. Our opponent played it, or rather punished it. We came out to the side and got castled. Our opponent played more fantastic moves, or a few slow moves as well. I didn't really feel like we had a whole lot of chances today after losing the initial piece, but still we did try and generate some problems. This was a really good move. I just did not quite spot the tactic in advance, namely this, and or rather this, and this. This once again, it's a fork of the rooks. Our opponent did not take like this. We were going to lose a rook either way, so I didn't quite address the issue just yet, and this was played, which was really good. I thought a rook was going to be taken here, like this for example. This would have been really good immediately, because if this was played, we can't take here because of this. But let's say this is played. Apparently this is evaluated as, or it's still 5 in our opponent's advantage. Or in, yeah, I definitely don't quite see the difference there, but the moves are still quite good. This just disallows some counterplay, I guess, as we can't get up with the pawn to the 7th rank. We took here, didn't see a whole lot of options. This might have been playable, but it just doesn't look all that good having to trade off material. If we're ever going to have any drawing chances, it would have been done without trading off material. Or at least by trading off material in a way which results in a winnable, or drawable rather, endgame. This, our opponent took here, which was fantastic. This, and as I mentioned, there is a mate down here, like this. we took. Apparently we're not supposed to take. Well, it's a 0.3 difference. It's not quite that big. So I guess we come back here apparently and hit the knight, but I didn't quite see the idea there, and we resigned at this point because with a bishop against a knight, a bishop and a rook, we were not going to be in for a good time. So well then, that's our game for today. Not a fantastic game, but honestly it's not all that bad. We had one blunder, I think. Was it one blunder? I think so. Don't quite remember how you get the stats up on the side. Oh, here we go, yeah. One blunder, 0 misses, 0 mistakes, 0 inaccuracies. So honestly, apart from the one move, it was a pretty flawless game. But sometimes you just play one inaccuracy, one blunder, and chess is brutal. Chess is quite brutal, that's the name of the game. Also, once again, thanks to Harvey Hui from Vietnam for the game. They played fantastically today, and we got to see some nice tactical gameplay. And thanks for watching to the end of the video, guys. This has been our game for today, and hope you have a fantastic rest of your days, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.